Hello, this is Lisa Russick. And
Misty Lord.
She did it. She likes the suspense. So, Misty, we have a wonderful guest today, and her name is Penelope. And we would love for you to take a look at her on Spotify video, because this is a video podcast on Spotify, and just listen to her through audio answer this question. Do you think we're all psychic?
Yes.
She says yes. She said yes. So why do you think that? Yes. How'd you get there?
Because, well, I was just talking about if you had children. So I know this is a very simplistic answer, but think about how intelligent your body has to be to create another human being.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Are you
innate intelligence? Yeah.
Like fully formed, living, kicking, thinking.
That's weird.
Are you telling me that a body that can make another human being can't figure out how to be psychic?
Right. That's a great point.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to the innate intelligence that exists at the subautonomic level, at the unconscious level in the mind. And I think people who are psychic train themselves, they either by accident or by training, they are able to locate that piece of themselves that has psychic ability in whatever realm you want it to, telepathic, precognition, whatever. And just like we learn to ride a bike, they learn to ride being psychic, and they become, accomplished at it. But we live in a society that limits our expectations of what we can do, right?
You're so right.
So
you're so right about that. Especially in certain, like in the South where we live, there's not much of it. In the cities, it's being more accepted in the South even. But there's kind of a divide between, the religious type of people who think that is the devil in the South, but in the South US, but not as much as you'd think nowadays. It's more like that, like 24 years or 14 years ago, 15 years ago or something. So it's kind of crazy. So listeners and watchers, my tongue is tied. And Penelope has written.
Call me Pen. Call me Pen, because
she's right. I keep reading that too.
It's a real
tell you Pen. Yeah. Listeners and watchers, I have a little tummy ache again today, and I took nausea medication, and it's making me a little loopy. But I wanted to meet Penelope so bad. And so what I was asking was what happened to make you realize this? Were you always around family that talked about this kind of stuff at all, or?
No. Well, my mom used to kid. One time we had a standing joke with my mom because we moved over to America. My mother was still in the UK, and sometimes when we call her, she'd say, "I knew you were going to ring." And then she'd say, "I'm psychopathic."
I love that.
We didn't. We thought it was so amusing that we never corrected her. And then from then on, we always said, "I'm psychopathic." So I grew up with women, with sisters, and a mom who were very intuitive. So we always allowed for intuition.
That's great.
And really recognize intuition, especially when you've got 3-4 females in a home that are very connected to each other. So you have a lot of, you just have energy. You have a lot of energy and connection between you. But I'm very curious. So I just was a voracious reader as a kid. Absolutely would read anything.
Me too.
Boxes, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I got more into like the 90s, I got very interested in, actually working in almost like a halfway house in New York. I got very involved in the 12-step program.
Yeah.
Which is very pragmatic spirituality.
Yes. A good way of putting it.
Yeah. So 12 steps, surrendering to God, doing or higher power, turning your life over. And so there was a lot of reading associated with that on personal development and New Age stuff and the Tao of physics. And so I very much got into reading all that sense, and it made sense to me.
Yeah.
I do that it suffered, we were talking a little bit how there wasn't everywhere, but particularly in the South, a little bit of prejudice against it. I've lived a long time in Manhattan, which is very cosmopolitan. You get all kinds of stuff. You get Samuel Weiser's occult bookstore. You can, pick up any tarot, whatever you like. So I was always interested in that. And then the more I read, the more curious I became. And then I got into, if you're familiar with Hemisync from Robert Monroe, the Monroe Institute, he did a lot of work on telepathy and psychic.
Oh, yes. We had one of his relatives on the show, actually, but she's been on our podcast a couple times. It's just she goes by Patricia. That's what her name, Patricia Morningstar, I think is her name she goes by. But she's related to the, what was his name again?
Robert Monroe. I believe it's Robert. Yeah, Monroe, the Monroe Institute. He came up with the Hemisync, because that's the...
Okay. Oh, wow.
Where you balance your brain waves on both sides.
Yeah.
And he is actually, if your listeners are interested, a science guy who worked with him, Tom Campbell.
Okay.
To kind of design all of the experiments. He's got a podcaster, he's written books. He's sort of like super smart.
Yeah.
Math guy called The Theory of Everything, Tom Campbell's The Theory of Everything. And he works almost like scientifically with Monroe to come up with sort of explain what this psychic phenomenon was, and remote viewing, the Department of Defense, Russia, the military, they've been working on remote viewing stuff forever.
Yeah.
Which goes back to that point about training people into a particular psychic skill.
Yeah.
So I just read more and more. And then there was sort of this which is, I think, becoming more intense, this sort of intersection of science with more paranormal.
It's happening.
Now there's a lot of scientists saying that consciousness is what the fancy word is, the ontological primate, which means it's the foundation of everything.
Yeah. Consciousness.
Yeah. If everything is in consciousness, then it's not out there, it's all in here. Well, then you should be able to access it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about perspectives in comparison or in conjunction with that kind of thing? You know what I mean?
What do you mean by perspectives?
Like perspectives, as far as like, I've always been fascinated how every single person has their own perspective, like completely, and they understand words, the same word in a different way. For example, if someone says dog, that person's just scared of dogs, so be like, ooh, and if I hear dog, I'm like, oh, dog, stuff like. So that was I was kind of like seeing that was kind of the same kind of thing what you meant. So
yeah, but I think we've all got this sort of. If you think, as some people hypothesize, that life is just a stable dream, it's a sort of a stable hallucination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, feels like it a lot.
Not a dream.
There's a famous French explorer, I think in the 1800s, called Alexander David Neely, and she'd had all like this big, her big like 1800 skirts on, and she trekked out to Tibet. She was very adventurous, and she studied with High Lamas in Tibet. Yeah, you can read about it. She's really
in the 1700s from England, or
1800s.
1800s in England. So, oh my gosh,
she was French. Her name was Alexander David Neely, and and she went out and studied with the High Lamas in Tibet, dream yoga, and she said, So she pursued dream yoga, which is trying to stay awake during your dream.
Like lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming, yeah, because it's just a certain aspect of consciousness which you can't remember. People dream, you can't remember they dream, right?
All right, all the time.
She had this lucid dreaming, and then she said, and then I realized that when I awoke from the nighttime dream that I was dreaming still. And
interesting.
Daytime dreaming is more stable, right? In your nighttime dream, you've got all kinds of crazy scenarios. It feels very real.
Yes, it does.
But then during the day, we sort of have a consensual dream. I'm in your dream, you're in my dream. We think it's a real dream, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, we've got a very different perspective on it and very different associations.
And it's interesting to try to find that common ground with people, I think, where our understanding of things like being scared of the word psychic or intuitive or energy healing, not scared of it, or just thinking it's woo, with just the judgment without knowing what it is kind of frustrating sometimes, that you do hear,
That's the words, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all about the words.
It's all about that, to your point, association. Yeah. I hear the word angel and I'm like, I've just written a book called, and this is not just a clever bridge, but I've written a book called The Angel Scroll, which is about sort of psychic.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it. Actually, that's your newest book, isn't it?
Yeah, we can get into that. But I hear the word angel, I get very excited. I have very sort of uplifting, compelling associations. And then other people hear that word and they just think that it's superstition nonsense. And
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So I think words, and I've been on a radio show and they were saying, what do you think about UFOs? What do you think about angels? What do you think about aliens? And I'm very open. I don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
We're just sharing our perspectives, right?
My experiences, yeah. And my perspective of it. Yeah.
But I'm not going to, I don't know. And none of us know. So I don't know how you can shut it down.
How can anyone know? It's like, exactly. I think it has to be a different way of understanding, even for each of us, what happens when what we are, what beings our souls might be, or something like that. We don't know. And, or if that is a thing. We have I feel like I know life's after death, but I don't understand mediumship. But I do communicate with spirits for clients or for friends. And it usually works fine. I have spirit guides I work with. I don't understand how that works. So ask her, hey, Misty, would you like to ask her some questions?
Sure. So tell me a little bit more about your book.
So this this book's a novel called The Angel Scroll. And years ago, I found out there was this report that they'd found a new Dead Sea Scroll. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found in the 40s around the Dead Sea in the Qumran caves. And they were this massive archaeological find. They dated back to a couple of hundred years before Jesus and at the time of Jesus. And just this amazing find of early Jewish law and biblical material and all kinds of things. Anyway, they reported that they found another one in the 90s called the Angel Scroll. And it had it had a lot of angelic imagery, a tour of heaven, and some apocalyptic predictions.
Okay, tell me, where did they find this at?
They found it on the Jordanian side in caves on the Jordanian side. So the original had been where the West Bank is now. Mm-hmm. This was on the Jordanian side.
Okay.
And a scholar, the scholar said that he saw drawings of it and they all got very excited. But as the years went by, they could never pin it down. They could never find the actual scroll. So they sort of debunked, said that the evidence was too flimsy. But but it always stuck with me. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if the scroll predicted a new gospel for the 21st century?
Wouldn't it?
Instead of being written, we're kind of going to go back to Renaissance art before people could read. And they looked, churches were beautifully, they had paintings and iconography and the flame.
Renaissance, it sounds like just the best time to live in Europe anytime anyway. And it's especially in the middle of the Europe, seems to me.
It's a direct experience when you hear beautiful music or you look at a beautiful painting or you look at a beautiful scene in nature. It opens your soul, right? In the way that it may not. So the idea for the book was that the scroll would predict 3 miraculous paintings painted by 3 amateur artists. And that when you put them together, they would create healing.
And pictures they made.
Yeah, 3 paintings, masterpieces. And they're very novice painters. So the heroine of the book, Claire Lucas, Clear Light, her husband's just died. He was only 38, and she's grief-stricken. She's having these visions of Jesus in India because there's a theory that during the hidden years that Jesus did go to India. and that if he were part of the Essene sect in Jerusalem, that they were very influenced by Hinduism and reincarnation and Eastern mysticism. So she keeps dreaming of Jesus at this woman's deathbed in India. And then she winds up painting that. And then she finds out that hers is one of these 3 paintings. So she goes off all around the world looking for the paintings to put them together to see if they create a miracle. So it's just it's just all of my musings about the things that you ladies like to talk about. Miracles, like everybody wants to believe in miracles. Everybody wants to believe in life after. Everybody wants to know that you're going to see those people that you love who've been amputated out of your life, that you're going to see them again. So, so she's trying to stay steady and skeptical. But at the same time, she's open. And so she meets a Buddhist monk, a Benedictine monk, and an anthropologist lady who studies goddess worship. And they all kind of give her a different perspective.
Yeah.
Love it.
And the materialist doctor said that there's something, she may have an aneurysm, and that's why she's having these visions, because it's a physical problem.
Oh, okay. Gosh.
That sounds very interesting.
That's serious too. I mean, wow. Weird though. Yeah, it's just strangest things.
I love it.
I wanted to ask about, I love the book though. I would like to read. Is it out already, or is it, it's out. Okay. Well, listeners and watchers, I'll put a link to that, The Angel Scroll book by Penelope Holt. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Holt, yes. And she has other nonfiction books and novels. You have other books, right?
Yeah.
That you also, so I'll put her Amazon author page. Are there 2 different author pages, one for the nonfiction and one for the fiction?
Actually, if you go to penelopeholt.com, you can see all my books there and link to Amazon and see I've done a couple of blogs on how I wrote the book and stuff. So, and I did a trailer for this one. Book trailer.
Cool. That's awesome. Okay, well, I love it because I was a novelist for a long time. And then I went into editing and then into ghostwriting. And I just loved ghostwriting. I just love it. I like to do the strange genre fiction writing, especially genre fiction, not romance. So I'm not good at that. I mean, it's just something I can't make up a plot about love. I mean, it has to be like they're in the jungle in trouble and getting to know each other better. Kind of like Romancing the Stone, like an adventure romance is more exciting to me than they worked at the same office and their eyes crossed across the room. Yeah, it just wasn't my deal. I would get hired for ghostwriting gigs, but for romance at that time, they paid a lot for a very short amount of words. And they kept sending them back to me saying, "This is not romance." I was like, "What is romance?" They're like, "Nothing but romance in the book." I'm like, "What does that mean?" I couldn't get it. It's very, very weird. I mean, I understood it. I just can't make the story around that. It's hard for me. But I am a romantic, oddly, but I couldn't do that with a book, I don't think. But when you write, I really want to ask you this: when you write novels, especially, if you're also a psychic medium, right? Or do you work? No. Oh, you don't. You're okay. Well, you were. That's really interesting. Well, did anything interesting happen while you were writing like that book or any of your books where you wrote about your spirituality and stuff like that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I've said in writing with this book that I never did an outline or anything, that I felt more like I was excavating it.
Yes, that's what kind of I was asking. If you were like channeling it kind of, or just getting it out of you, it's always been there.
Yeah, like it just sort of appears. I think a lot of writers have this, that you just sort of go along and it just sort of.
Yes, I do. It hasn't been like that in a long time, but my daydreams, I'll be writing more in my head than actually typing. Does that make sense?
Hey, that's a good way of putting it. It is almost like daydreaming.
It is, yeah. Almost. Mm-hmm. You're putting it as fun. It feels good. It puts me a lot of like endorphins, I guess. It makes me feel really great. But sometimes it's hard to pull out of that imagination and go write it. I usually will like put it on the back shelf, and whatever I remember from the next day, I'll put in there, if I'm working on something. So unless I have a really good idea before, usually my ideas come for books and who I'm writing for other people in bed or in the shower. So I always forget by the time those things are over. And so.
Well, you just sort of triggered something in me, which is I've always had a very active imagination.
Yeah.
Too much so, because if I start to imagine bad things, I can get really freaked out because they seem very real to me. But I remember before I came to America, when I was sort of in my 20s, I had this feeling that everything I imagined, it was almost like everything that I wanted to happen happened.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So you manifest things with your thoughts at that time. Because you're a positive thinker. You made it happen.
It sort of freaked me out. It freaked me out. But I think there's just something about the creative function when it's channeled into writing, which is storytelling, because everything
and reading is totally different. Writing is totally different than voice to text and that's kind of interesting. I think voice to text, speech to text is interesting because it's me talking and then me reading a reply and sometimes editing whatever I say, it doesn't come out right, but that's a weird medium because you're not just talking. You're talking and you're reading at the same time, two different, it's kind of like, have you ever had people do that to you in text or on WhatsApp? They'll write something and they'll send a voice message. And that's hard to keep up with for me sometimes, but I think it's pretty cool. Technology does that. And it reminds me of I did see an article. This is kind of weird. This is kind of interesting. I did see an article that they have found, I don't know why I'm switching topics, but this just jumped in for me to tell you guys that the first creature or biological carbon-based creature, they always thought it was from, or 400,000 years ago, maybe something like that. I don't know. I probably got that wrong, but they just found out that some of these fossils they're finding are dated back to 4.2 billion years ago and stuff like that, right after when the Earth formed. And I just find that fascinating because that's a long time. It's a really long time. And then what all could have happened in the world. And I think your book is showing one piece that has been concealed and not really explored, is what it sounds like. And I'd love to know about your other books too, but I guess I'll look at that link on Amazon. And
there's this theory now that from Donald Hoffman, it's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Do tell.
Is that space-time is a projected hallucination.
Yes, I think so too.
That there is no space-time. There's sort of this eternal now.
Yes.
And it projects almost like a matrix type thing. It projects space-time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we, as through our perceptions, through our physical perceptions, through the human mind, we can't relate to it, can we? It's like telling about a color that we've never seen.
No,
so we kind of can't get our heads around it. So I play with this idea a lot. I kind of wobble in and out of it. I don't always get real clarity, but we always think about reincarnation in time, like you were just saying, 4 billion years ago. So we always think it as being this linear arrow of time.
Yeah, it's couldn't I have lived 10,000 years from now as a bird? I don't know. Because
maybe it's. I think what if time is in a dimension where there is no line of time, where it's just a dimension that we can't relate to?
Yeah, something we all have in common with our perspectives and our consciousnesses.
Yeah,
so we have a reality of some sort that we all can relate with each other on. A physical, especially. But I think the energetic
hold one thought at a time, right? So we have this perception of and now. Right, yes. Because it's one thought at a time.
Now.
Don't have this idea of everything all at once. So I just try and play with that a lot.
I'm going to do that too. I love thinking about time and gravity, those two things together, because they haven't really pinned them down what they are yet. Anyway, time is just a measure. What is it though? I've always kind of considered it like a fourth dimension, where in that kind of consideration where you're meeting at a time at a certain place. Time and place, the date happens or something. But it's, I don't know. What is your opinion on that? Misty, what's your opinion on that?
I think that we have no concept at all to even begin to understand it. I think that like when we die on the other side, there's just no such thing as time whatsoever.
Yeah, I think it's incomprehensible
we can be in different places now, in different time periods and different dimensions, and I could go on and on about it, but
really,
I really, I don't think any of us can quite comprehend it, as a human.
I can't. I know when I met, I felt like got it, but they didn't tell me. If they understood it.
I'm with Misty, and I think that and part of the problem that people have talking about reincarnation and psychic events is that they want to put it in this very human temporal framework.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is absolutely right, that it's living in a space that is not even accessible to us. So we're trying to figure out something that's happening in a room that we can't even open the door of that room.
Yeah.
We can get ideas by pulling a card or our tools, our intuition. But we don't know exactly. Probably not.
Yeah, right.
But if I don't know, that's just really cool. Just point out, I think, what's that?
Donald Hoffman says, I mean, right now they're, the Planck scale, quantum physics, or he was talking about gravity, right? So space-time is a dimension. Right? There's 3 dimensions, and then there's space-time. That's how we kind of our world. And then you have Einstein's theory of general relativity, and then you have gravitational effects. But when you start to get into quantum space, it all just becomes fields of energy with excitation, right? So when you think about angels and sound or light. So Hoffman says, and I'm not a big, physics, I just grasp enough to sort of suit my own ends, but
same.
At 10 minus 35, which is the Planck scale, space-time disappears. Mm-hmm. So, the physical reality, it just turns into quantum
pieces, or quantum quarks and pieces and parts.
We can't see, there's no building blocks at 10 minus the 30. It all like collapses. It
just collapses into itself. Does it leave any kind of debris, or would it?
The materialists, the atomization, like they find tinier and tinier things.
Oh, it eliminates.
Where those divisions, those building blocks, they just disappear and they become fields and excitation in a field. And then if there's only one field, which Bernardo Castro calls the mind at large, it's just one field. And then we are sort of little subdivisions of that one field. That's very simple and elegant, and that makes sense to me. But to Misty's point, it's difficult to comprehend, but you sort of get these intuitions of it, right? You kind of get the sense of it, but it's hard to put it into your physical framework because you just,
you don't have the word for it. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I would go with that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lisa?
Oh, I'm someone just walked in the room, and I wasn't listening. I couldn't pay attention to the conversation. Sorry. What were you just discussing?
We were still talking about time, and that we think that we can't really comprehend it. Do you think the same thing?
I can't comprehend it. I don't know. Maybe somebody can, but I can't. I think there's a possibility that there's an underworld civilization. I wonder about that. This may have always been here.
Anything's
interesting,
possible.
And maybe you get to live forever there if you like your body and your form and you stay young. I think they do have ways. I've talked about that on the podcast. They have ways to keep us young already and healthy and died, from unnatural causes, as they call it. But I don't think it's given to many people that access or information. It's just so obvious that we could do it, but maybe not the conscious. The consciousness is, if human scientists can get together and show how the consciousness is all relating in a certain frequency range or something. How it's like at this frequency, everyone's kind of there in somewhere, somehow, with their whatever part in their body might resonate with that, for example. Some way to measure it, and then you could really put a lot of work and do a lot with it. It'd just be amazing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm less and less concerned about the material physical, because if everything is consciousness, then your body, although it feels real, may just be a
projection. Yeah, it could be.
And yes. I think that's why I come back to the psychic question, because
yes,
I think if everything exists in the psyche in here, then it's real.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think some things get projected out into the world. I think some people see aliens and angels because their psyche is able to sort of project it.
I agree.
Right. So when people are like trying to prove it out there, I'm like, no, you don't need to worry about out there. It's what's in here. And then you get into like Jungian archetypes, and we all have the same archetypes, right? We have goddess, the virgin, the Christ consciousness, the healer, look at the tarot. We all seem to have these like psychic blueprints that we sort of
really do. It really does.
Those are the characters in our movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that some people have like angels and aliens and fairies in their movie, their characters.
Why not? Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, my favorite book is Watership Down, and it's a bunny book, but it's kind of you love the movie. Oh my gosh, that's why I have this tattoo. I have a black rabbit of inlay tattoo right here from the cartoon. That one from the 80s cartoon. I just love Watership Down so much. It's just really.
I'm going to go back and read that. I used to love it when I was a kid. It's English,
It's really long, but the cartoon did a great job at transposing it. There's not much. I mean, it seems like there's going to be stuff left out, but they covered it all. I think pretty much. There are a few things that left out, but not. The movie is really good too.
Yeah.
But the book is like an encyclopedia or dictionary or a long book. I guess at this point, I'll thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app where you can get advice from psychics and empaths, so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. Oh, I didn't mess it up. I'm like so tired. I get loopy still from this Phenergan. And Everclear, we love you. Thank you so much. And Penelope.
And Penelope?
Yes. And lastly, of course, Penelope, do you have any advice to anybody listening to the podcast who maybe... Can you think of a good question, Misty? I'm thinking...
I think that, okay, I want to know, what kind of listeners do you think will like your book and read it? What kind of audience are you?
A great question. That's a great question.
People like you.
I like the answer.
I like that answer too. You heard it here.
Well, you got to read it right here.
And I will put links to those books on your description page.
I touch on in the book. The reason I wrote this book was the character is a seeker. Like I've looked at Buddhism, I've looked at tarot, I've looked at physics, metaphysics, science, looked at everything. I'm very curious. I'm very open.
Yeah, that's me too.
Locked into words and associations. So this character is a seeker, and she's being told different things. Like we are. Like when I was a little girl, I saw the Salvation Army on our street, and it was like a little wooden hut, and they all had the bonnets and the tambourines, and they were making joyful noises. And I asked my mom to take me there. And then I went to Catholic school, and I was baptized as a Catholic, and I got really into Catholicism and going to Lourdes and miracles and very steeped in.
You've always been spiritual.
I've always been.
Yeah.
And I got into when my mom was dying of cancer, I got into Buddhism. I really like Buddhism because it's sort of a form of psychology.
It's more of a way of life.
It's my
Yeah.
And then just as I got more and more into these things, and they were giving me more and more, just different layers of meaning, just looking at perspectives again, your word, Lisa, just all these great perspectives were making a much richer picture rather than just having one.
Yes.
And so the Claire in the book, she's grieving, and she's having psychic experiences and supernatural experiences, and she's confused. She doesn't know where they're coming from. So she's on this quest to figure out, she wants an answer from somebody, but we all have to come to our own answers, don't we?
Absolutely.
We do.
Yes. And we always need help, always ask for help, but pick what advice you might work with and you might not work with, but I advise, anyone, get help, get advice. If you can't pay, you don't have to do what they say if you don't feel like it. But ask what their experiences are as well. How would be best for you, them, whoever it is. How do they do it? What's happening? Like, I like to learn a lot of different techniques that other people do, tools. I like divination a lot, and I just love that and healing. I love both of those, and I love hearing about like when a friend makes like some kind of like a book, like you like writing, a friend does something like a write, I would make a tarot deck. I've made a tarot deck, and I've met a lot of other people who made tarot decks, and some at work who I work with on Everclear as Lisa P. And it's just been it's been cool. I like that part of it. But I guess Misty, thank you again.
Thank you, Lisa.
And Penelope, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Penelope. It was fun.
You look so pretty too. I love the background and everything. It's just it's romantic. I just want to be there reading your book.
Oh, that's so nice. I enjoyed it. You ladies are fun.
Thanks. We try. And I will be chopping up a lot of this where what am I talking about? And
when your Benadryl wears off.
Yes, Phenergan. it's the nausea medication. Yes, when it wears off, good idea. Appreciate that. And listeners and watchers, her info will be in the description. And we love you so much. And everywhere, wherever you may be, have a wonderful day and peace out.
Bye.